BBL 851, turn right, heading 180. Order 14 Papa, turn right 245, report localizer established 27.
Don't forget to listen to the first episode of the DJ's Aviation Podcast on your local streaming platforms like that are SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. The Indian aviation sector is one that's highly requested here on the channel to be covered, and developments continue to occur within the busy sector of the industry, with Jet Airways having collapsed years ago and looking at a return. Air India's future consistently up in the air, new airlines potentially on the way, and two carriers, that of SpiceJet and Indigo, thriving. It makes for an incredibly fierce battle for market share and passenger support within the country. Beginning though our focus, and that being with Jet Airways, whose winning bidder in recent weeks has approached the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, or DGCA, with the sole purpose of restoring airport slots with the airline. The carrier ceased operations in April of 2019 following it announcing it had filed for bankruptcy. But plans are to bring the airline back this year, which was originally founded in the early 1990s. Those plans, though, haven't been totally stable, to say the least, with navigating the re-establishment of a bankrupt airline during a pandemic proving costly and also testing. The consortium which won in the battle to purchase the airline noted that reacquiring of slots into airports was crucial for the airline moving forward, especially with its Project Restart, if you will, plans. If the new Jet Airways could not acquire these slots, which would allow the airline to fly in and out of certain airports worldwide, a plan to restart and inject billions would be pointless and a poor business investment for them. The crossroads, though, they're at is that in early March of this year, it was noted that slots into airports were not as easy as to just reacquire them after a 2-year absence following the events of April 2019, and that should Jet Airways want to restart operations, they'd actually need to reapply for slots, which is timely and costly, and naturally more complicated with potential problems acquiring specific slots with regards to money or even timing, throwing out their whole route network plans potentially. Lawyers, though, have got involved in this matter, and an ongoing case is currently underway, with a hearing being held today to determine actually the best course of action and the action that will be taken from here. Whether that is Jet Airways reacquiring the majority of their slots, or potentially, say, some of them, or they're going to have to reapply for all of them. It is something that remains to be seen, but I think it's pretty safe to say that Jet Airways does not want to have to reapply for all their slots. However, though, Jet Airways, should they return, face increasing competition from big Indian carriers, and also that potentially of new ones, with thanks to CNBC reports suggesting that an ex-CEO of Jet Airways who left the carrier only a month after they collapsed in May of 2019 and most recently was in a job at Go Air, is looking at beginning his own domestic airline, something that would likely battle Jet Airways, depending on how they come out. With aircraft like that of the A330neo and even the A321XLR, which is upcoming, it has changed the game for domestic carriers that once strictly operated in their home country, and is now allowing them to fly on the cheap out of their country on international services with an attractive business model that impacts other long-haul full-service carriers, like that of your former Jet Airways and also Air India. This airline would see, though, 5 aircraft likely be in service, with the plan to begin operations by the end of this calendar year, that being 2021, for anyone potentially watching this video in the future. Their planned operations, which are beginning once again at the end of 2021, would tie in with the debut of Norse Atlantic Airways out of Norway to the industry. We finally move across to Air India, who I covered most recently on the channel within the industry. The airline is currently facing the ultimatum of shutting down if they cannot acquire a buyer within now a roughly 50-day period or so. What's interesting, and what I wanted to cover, was not their poor financial state, which thanks to latest figures released in recent weeks and also numbers, are continuing to head in a downward trajectory, but I actually wanted to focus on the owner of SpiceJet being shortlisted by the government of India to purchase the airline. News channel that of Zee Business, which later confirmed to the Times of India, reported the news towards the end of March, and whether or not this actually fabricates to anything remains to be seen, but what can be said is that Air India has had interest from carriers around the world in the past 2 years or so. It hasn't necessarily meant that it has amounted to anything. A final bid, though, hasn't been made by the SpiceJet owner, as he needs to take a good hard look at the airline's books and whether or not it would be a viable purchase for the executive within the aviation industry who has industry experience already. What are your thoughts on the state of the Indian aviation sector? I know this is a highly requested area to cover, and I'll always do my best to produce the content for those that wish to see it. What are your thoughts though? Feel free to drop it in the comment section below, and be sure to check out my podcast, either on Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, or Apple Podcasts. Until the next video, happy Easter, and please do be safe.